Welcome to All Things in the Name of Love. If you like this show, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks. Welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. And today I have with me Aurelius, I know I said that right, Higgs, who works with Certain Future to support parents of preteens, 10 to 14-year-olds. Thank you so much. So that they can show up and maintain a meaningful relationship with their child during these identity-breaking years. You work with parents who want to be present with their son or daughter before it's too late to bridge that gap. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Using the show up framework, parents benefit when working with this because they're confident in their communication with their tween when their tween starts having big emotions, which is huge. They know how to be present when their preteen starts to withdraw, so their child continues. I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am for this. Their child continues to trust them and naturally shows up. Naturally opens up to difficult conversations, and they know how to support their child in ways to develop self-belief and resilience. And my little inner child is like dancing up and down with joy that you're doing this for preteens. So thank
Hey,
you, thank you, thank
wow.
you, thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thank you. It's gonna be a journey. And I say it's going to be a journey. It has been. I'm gonna be a 9-year overnight success. Um, this behind me, I used to teach fifth grade. I taught high school English language arts, and then one year I taught fifth grade. And the whole idea is to stay in the game long enough that my fifth graders can you see little afro guys there, stick figure afros meant for those on the audio. The whole plan is to stay in the game long enough that I can have these principles passed on to these kids with their
Oh,
preteens.
I love that. Thank you so much for doing that. Truly.
Um, you're welcome. Your words are well received. I think I look as confused as you just because I hear you say thank you for doing that. Um, I feel I've been called to do it. So
Thank
in
you
as much
so
as you're
much.
saying thank you for being that, it's I hear you saying thank you for being that. Thank you for being you, which encourages
Yeah,
me to lean into me more. Yeah.
yeah, because it's so important when we follow that innate gift, which you clearly have, and we allow it to expand us. It's just so freaking beautiful how it shows up.
Hey. There's no greater privilege than to be who you are. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you
So
for
I
your
wanted to ask
story, man.
you.
Yeah. Talk to
Oh, you're
me. Let's do
welcome. You're
this.
welcome. Um, I want to ask you, like, how did all of this start? Like, were you always a spiritual kid, or did you remember it? Like, how did that unfold to bringing you to where you are now? Which is a huge question, but I figured I'd just start with it.
You're all good, man. Oh man. Yeah. Well, when a man loves a woman and they have a special hug. So my mother's from the Philippines, my father's
Okay.
from the Bahamas, and they met in Nebraska, of all places. Yeah, right? Oh, it gets mixed up. They went to a university called Union College, if you know it, you know
Okay.
it. Not you don't. And you know what really happened? I know I went way back, even before I was born, but I'll speed it up. But what happened is it is a liberal arts Christian college,
Okay.
and it was Thanksgiving, and everybody had gone off back to where they were from. These two were
Mhm.
left there. They have this line down the pathway where guys walk on one side and girls walk on the other side at this college. And it just so happened they were the only two there. They had a swimming class together. Many moons later, I pop out. That's how that happened. But I grew up sincerely Christian, and the reason I say sincerely Christian, it's never been a burden for me. Uh,
Okay.
Spirituality and religion. I grew up Seventh Day Adventist, if you're familiar.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and let's see. When I was 12, I moved to the Bahamas. My parents divorced.
Oh,
I grew up here during those formative years. I've always felt as other in a lot of spaces, but I've always felt me. Now, speaking
Mm.
in the context of spirituality, one thing that has been constant is my connection, conversation, my openness with the divine. Um, I was here with my father, but then my father has 8 sisters, and he was doing his thing, pursuing his career. He's a PhD. Actually, there's his book. It's called Barefoot to Boardroom,
Oh, I
and
love that.
he's a man from humble beginnings. Yeah, see this. It's an island picture of a man feeding his son coconut. So that's not my father, but it's in our living room. And let me speed this up. Let me see. I've always had a sincere relationship with the divine. Studied
Okay.
journalism, right? In Huntsville, Alabama. Straightway went to South Korea to be a Bible teacher, an English Bible teacher. Expanded
Wow.
my understanding and knowledge. Have no animosity towards the church, but I didn't want to preach anything I didn't believe. And went to Saudi Arabia, learned about Islam as a world religion, continued being a teacher, learned about Buddhism and Eastern philosophy and so on. Studied in Thailand, studied and taught in Thailand, and then in Spain also for some time. Now I'm back in the Bahamas with my aging parents. And the work I do is helping parents of preteens with their communication and opening up to bring forth their awesomeness, to nurture, to extract, if you will, to create the context for it to express itself. And that's what I divinely feel called to do. That's what I do. And somebody asked me if it's faith based, but I say, it's BYOB, bring your own beliefs. I do believe in greater powers and higher forces. I also believe that everything that eventually grows must first break. That's why it has to go through resistance. That's what I understand with quantum physics and the Higgs boson and so on. Matter reveals itself as it goes through resistance, that everything is traveling at the speed of light. And that's really me. I'm always curious. I lead with curiosity, and I try to lead with my virtues and values, which I believe are expressions of the divine. And we can get into the details of that in a moment, but that's me. That's Marcus. Yeah.
I love that because, you know, you're bringing to me a remembrance of so a long, long time ago, decades ago. I was gifted the opportunity to run for state senate in Maine. I was a Girl Scout until I was 18. I'm really, really squeaky clean, ethical girl.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um, so I get to um, a networking event with insurance companies. I've always had a healthy skepticism. Let's just
Mm-hmm.
say that. And I'm 20 years old, and they asked me what I would do if an insurance company asked me to do some sort of legislation. I said, well, I'm going to vote for what my constituents wanted. They're like, oh, you were so naive. And I said, I am not naive. I have to sleep with myself. And they're like, what? I'm like, nobody else is going to like know what I did except me. And I have to sleep with that. And they were so dumbfounded because nobody had ever said that. And one of the senators pulled me aside and he said, you're not supposed to say stuff like that. I'm like, I cannot because it's my ethics, it's my essence, it's like who I am as a being. And if you don't like that, that's fine. I don't have to, I mean, I didn't end up winning, but like, I don't care about that. I'm grateful I didn't win. But um, like, I have to stay like grounded within myself. And when I lose that, I lose part of that innate essence, that innocence, that wonder that I am to become something I'm not.
Yeah. That that's exactly so. In my work with parents, the whole idea is helping to I don't want to say establish, bring evidence so that they can form that belief of themselves of who they are. Bring evidence and examples to their character, right?
Mm,
And when I speak of virtues and values, virtues are with all cultures, all religions, all walks of people. These it's called the VIA, virtues in action. This is positive psychology with with um with ancient wisdom. Things such as bravery, such things such as social awareness, creativity, leadership, and so on. Everybody has all 24. And really what it is, it's the traits by which we work towards the well-being of others and the well-being of ourselves, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Your values just means what's important to you. Honesty was important to you. For some people, it's family. For some people, it's finance. It just means what's important to you. It is yours to own. And when you have
Right.
your virtues and your values, that makes you uniquely you. Now,
Mm.
if you can understand that that's who I am, decisions are easier to make.
Mm. Hmm.
Now, mind you, like you're beginning the game and you're just starting your independence at this age and pre-adolescence, adolescence. But if we could establish it that early in the game, it gives us a longer runway for you
Yeah.
to to figure out who you are and then do it on purpose, like Dolly Parton says. That's the secret of life.
Yeah.
Figure out who you are and do it on purpose. Let me tell you one of the challenges of this time though. Since 1995, or rather those born in 1995, they noticed an uptick in the mental well-being crisis that
Mm.
came to fruition around 2012.
Wow.
It was those who were grown on social media. They were
Yeah.
forming their identity in the likes and causes on the other side of a screen.
Mm.
So when the screen
Fascinating.
closes, the idea is, who am I?
Yeah.
Now watch this. Life is about managing stress, right? That's how growth happens. Things are stressed, we're broken, and then we're made stronger in the broken places, right?
Mhm.
But if you don't know who you are from an internal space, you easily collapse. You can't push back
Yeah.
or expand, or you can't maintain.
Mm.
And that's where a lot of these mental health, I would say the maladaptation to society, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's where that's where this crisis stems from in my research and in the research of others. The book, The Anxious Generation is one, and Screenagers, How to Raise Your
Mm.
Teen in the Digital Age. So yeah.
I think it's fascinating because I remember when I was 10, I mentioned before I pressed record, I had a family crisis. My grandfather died, and then everything broke down in the family relationships because dad disconnected, mom became a control freak, everything just went into chaos. And so, back in 1979, as I'm dating myself, nobody actually thought about me as I'm just part of the mix. So
Yeah.
by the time I'm 15, because I just got overwhelmed and I cut my connection with Source. Stupid. I have so much compassion for her. Um, but she was just like, I need to survive this chaos. And so what I know now is she would have loved to have grounded herself every day for 2 hours a day. That would have
Mm-hmm.
caused a lot of like calm because I needed calm and there was no calm. And my soul, in the Chinese five elements, I'm a water, which means I love
Mm-hmm.
quiet. I love being left alone. I love lots of quiet.
Stillness.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that, but like if I'd just been given the opportunity to just ground myself a couple hours a day, that would have changed everything.
Mm.
But nobody knew about that in Fairfield County, Connecticut back then that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of muddled my way through knowing I was different. I always known I was different since I was little. I knew I was different, but like I didn't know how to fit in. And growing up back then, the whole thing was you have to fit in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Always.
Failed miserably at that. I'm happy to have failed miserably at that.
Mm.
And yet, when I look at people who have not left that energy, they have tried to conform and they look so much older than me.
Yeah. Well, the two quotes come to mind. Krishnamurti, to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society is no measure of health at all. So you said you not fitting in, you failed. No, you passed.
Oh, I know I did. I know I did. I failed the conformity,
Mhm.
but I succeeded in me.
Yeah. And then there's Emerson that follows up, right? With to be yourself in a world that's constantly trying to change you is the greatest accomplishment. Like, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that's what I want to teach
Mhm.
kids. And I'm trying, and I'm not trying. I am leveraging it through their parents. The most
Yeah.
influential source that's going to be with them for the long haul.
Mhm.
That's what I feel my work is. I was with a friend at a wedding, and his daughter was sitting on his lap. He's like, Marcus, I see what you're doing with the videos. This is when I was posting more, and he said, but what does all this mean? I said, if your daughter has a healthy attachment with you, just based on some stuff that I put out there, like that's what it's for. People, a nation is made great by men who make shade that they'll never sit in,
Yeah.
and that's what it is.
Yeah. No, I feel that because like having that security to develop the I come from many, many, many generations of codependency and people pleasing
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
because they didn't have the capacity to know that that's what they were doing.
sure.
But, I have my dad had the emotional ability to be present with his feelings and process them in a healthy way. We were really close and
Mm-hmm,
we went from really close to nothing. And so I constantly tried to get his attention back because I had his attention for the first 10 years. And instead of saying, "Hey, I have a lot to process. I know you have a lot to process," and having someone to talk to about that during
mm-hmm.
these traumas, you lose a patriarch. It's going to be traumatic, especially if he's not the healthiest patriarch for everyone except me. Um, like there was like a lot of damage control that needed to happen, but to have the emotional availability for saying, "Hey, I'm messed up right now. I need my own space. We're going to get you some help too because you're messed up in your own way. I don't have the emotional ability to be present for you." And so to bring awareness to that and give space for everyone to honor where they're at is so important. And it's like, so we get the opportunity in these times to carve out the space for that.
Let me back you up so that I make sure I
Yeah,
understood you. You're saying you you weren't able to do that for your father?
correct.
Okay. And then
So
you're saying now it, mhm.
it's-
Okay, you said so sad.
oh, because I was 10.
Oh, oh yeah, because you're a 10. Yeah, no, no, I get that. I get that. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was the adult in the room. It is his responsibility, yet you can't hold somebody to something they don't know. Yeah,
Right, right. So
yeah.
the fact that you're
I,
offering the ability for the parents to increase their awareness in their own capacity to process and their own capacity to be present to their children at the same time is it's transformational.
yes, I think of it as this is what human development is, and what I do is transformational coaching. Yeah, give a new perspective, but it's life coaching, just using the thing that's most relevant to them.
Mhm.
And life is never the thing happening to you, but rather it's your response to it.
Right.
And then when you see the kid rate developing and growing, then that's when we have to reflect and say, okay, what is it here?
Mhm.
One, what is it here? What is it changing inside me? And then two, how might I create the context that I can honor the wisdom in front of me for it to flourish into what it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in this dynamic of, I remember not having a computer growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have one until well, I think I was 14 when we got one, but we didn't actually use it
Mm-hmm.
until college. Um, so I remember like getting kicked out of the house, go play. Go outside and play. Child, please go outside and play.
Yeah.
And it was a rare occasion where it didn't matter what the season was. It was like go outside and play because it got my energy out and it got me curious. It created my imagination. And then in the winter when I couldn't go, like sometimes when it was ice out, my dad would like take out an historical atlas and ask me to find a country and then tell him about it. And so like
Hmm.
it was this pre-internet interrelatability. Like my mom would play music, my dad would play his records. It was like it was a pre overstimulation period.
Yeah. Mm. Mm, mm. Okay. Let me give it back to you another way and see how it resonates with you. I love how you say pre overstimulation. So we are the stories we tell ourselves.
Mhm.
Imagine the amount of stories that people are tracking through.
Yeah.
It's just like processed food. Like if you don't
Yeah.
have time to process that,
Mhm.
um, yeah, whatever are you going to tell yourself?
Right. Right. And how does it resonate? Like, so here's the part of body talk. It's like, so the liver stores all the memory
Okay.
and processes memory. So like between 1 and 3 in the morning, our liver is sorting through all of the content of the day. And it
Mm,
goes, okay, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, like whatever it is, this goes back in the reptilian brain, like whatever it is gets sorted out by the liver. So if you're in a space where you get all these subconscious programs that are activated by this by different content, you don't have the capacity to be able to process it during the day because I think on it's like a couple 100,000. I don't even know what the figure is. Astronomical amount
it's
of
too much. That's what it is.
yeah, too
Go
much,
on.
way too much stimulation, and like for me, um, I've had the opportunity to meditate for a long time, but it's usually guided. The past 2 weeks, it's been like, no, you don't even need that anymore. You're just gonna be present with yourself because I've done so much work on myself to disconnect, to be more present with myself. It's taken me 15 years.
Yeah.
So of conscious effort. I've actually, I've like made a commitment to do this for myself. And to be able to be in that space where you recognize that you're getting overstimulated and how to step back from that in a way that doesn't make you feel disconnected, but also present with yourself it's a dance.
Yeah. Yeah. To stay connected as well as yeah. Oh man. Let me give you another visual.
Okay, yeah, please do.
So I used to teach English. So we would go through stories, right? And then this delves into non-dualism, but I'll just give you the metaphor
Yeah.
first. For a story to happen, you need three things. You need, I'm gonna think of it as a play, as a book, and then as a movie.
Okay.
So you have the playwright. This is the author. This is the person who directs the attention. In a movie, this is the director. And on a stage, it's the director. It's the person who says, look over here with the spotlight or look over here. The second thing you need is the audience, the one who's giving the attention. They're the ones who make the meaning of it. That's the reader or that's the watcher of the TV. And the third thing you need is the actors. Those are the agents that push things, that have desires, that move them, you know? And then they have conflict of desires. Yeah. When you realize you are the author, the actor, and the audience all in the same, when you understand this, this is the story, you're the author of it, and
Yeah.
well as you're the audience, you're watching, as well as you're the actor at times where you have desires and you move the elements,
Mhm.
and then you collaborate with other people, and then, like as you said, you are the universe experiencing itself. It's when you could just travel through all those different stages, levels, dimensions. That's when it starts to get fun or interesting, and it's just like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Having that awareness, I had the other day I was doing somatic work on myself
Mm-hmm.
and I was very present with myself. started hearing thoughts I have never heard before. And they were just so outlandish because the part of me that wanted the attention but didn't really want me to pay attention was
Hmm.
like throwing stuff out to distract me.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
at one point it got so ridiculous, I just laughed out loud. I was like, "Are you really? That's how much you want to distract me? Okay. Well, I see you. I'm still going to be present with you." And it was just so beautiful that like I got into a space where I mean, it wasn't like, oh, you have to like find it, whatever it is, like you forgot to mail something out or blah, 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 blah. It was like, no, I'm going to throw something out so outlandish that you've never even thought of it before, because that's how much I don't want you to pay attention to me because I'm going to really distract you. I was like, oh, yeah, that's not going to do it because that was the watcher in me experience
Mm.
experiencing the behavior, the action
Sure.
and it was such a beautiful like, just awareness of this is how we can show up for ourselves.
Hmm. No, no, it's like, oh, I see that. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you mentioned earlier how much you enjoy quantum physics.
mhm.
So how do you bring that into your work?
Okay. That is the first time I've had that ever asked to me ever.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Oh man. Um, so I mentioned it before, everything that eventually grows must first break. It's a Stephen Pressfield idea or concept that things reveal themselves through resistance. And for me, that's what quantum physics means. In my understanding of it, I'll explain it and then you can correct me. You have the Higgs field, which is it is a force that weighs down light. So light is passing through all of this, but as this force weighs it down, it's going through this field as if like jello, and then it expresses itself in a certain way because of this resistance,
Mhm,
and that's where we get matter. And then that matter arranges itself to form what is. But then even on a very spiritual level, or even let's go back to nature and physics. You have an egg or you have a cocoon, and in order for life to happen, it has to emerge or break from the inside. If it breaks from the outside, there's death. If it breaks from the inside, there's life that comes forth.
mhm,
And even in that life, it has to push against the shell or the cocoon to have the fluid fill its wings, or if you're not, or else it's not going to fully mature. And that's just how I feel about stories. There's no interesting story without conflict, which is just two different things wanting separate things. And again, I see this pattern again and again and again. While as below, so above. It just started at the quantum level and then layered up, layered up, layered up. So when I see resistance, it's like, okay, yeah, this is what growth is. Like this is what, and really all it is change. Just
mhm.
change.
Yeah. It's when I decided that I was going to remember the Christ consciousness that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my primary goal in life is to fully embody that. It is truly amazing how much change I've called in my life as a result of that.
Okay.
Because like I don't want to have like if anyone sees all of my friends know this, if I have a piece of my subconscious that is influencing how I show up in the world in a way that isn't letting me shine my light, please tell me so I can
Yeah.
see it. I can't see everything, and I know, that's a gift of having friends is they can see parts of your subconscious that you can't. And I've had a couple of friends say, "I'm not trying to hurt your feelings." I'm like, you can't hurt my feelings because you're just showing me something that I can't see, which is my feelings. Like it's me feeling my feelings, not you hurting me
Sure.
for it.
Sure.
And it's such an interesting paradigm shift that, and then this is going to be kind of radical thought, but nobody really can hurt you because all they're doing is showing like here you have this word on you, can I remove it or you need to remove it because I'm showing it to you. And once we shift that perspective into the fact that we are the co-creators, of all that we bring into our world is so empowering.
Yeah, yeah. That's some of the basic tenets of Stoicism, and that's who I was named after, Marcus Aurelius. You see that
I love that.
there. But it's the idea that and like I said, it's all just change, which
Mhm.
is neutral,
Yeah.
and then we give it meaning,
Mhm.
and that meaning always comes from the inside. You get to three things. You get to choose what you focus on. You get to choose the meaning you give it, and you get to choose how you respond in your actions. And no action, no response is an action. But when you understand those are all your choices, you live from an empowered place. You live as an author and a co-creator in life.
Yeah. I love that. I've taken the word have out of my vocabulary because I don't have to do anything. I get to.
Yeah, yeah.
And that brings a delight into the awareness of how I show up in the world.
Mhm. And doing what you and when well, it's I was thinking about this earlier. Um, when you do what you want, but then I was thinking, okay, well, what makes it the difference of flourishing wants and then selfish wants? It's again doing it for the well-being of either yourself or for the collective. And when you're doing it for the well-being of yourself, it's not selfish. It is directed to yourself because I will take care of me to contribute to you. So yeah, there are times when you have to do it for the well-being of yourself, as you understand.
Oh yeah.
But do what you want because yeah, doing all the I'm not speaking from a place of privilege, or maybe the privilege is understanding who I am in my fullness.
Mm,
But yes, we do meet our needs and
mhm,
meet your needs as you can. Yet life supports those who support life,
mhm,
and you eventually get to a point where you can do what you want.
mhm.
And ideally, you can. I say ideally, but yeah, a nation is made stronger when what we want is the well-being of others.
Yeah. I definitely feel that because I feel the light in me. It's like my inner child is giddy when I get to work with an animal
Hey, tell me about that.
because I feel their energy. Like this sheep I worked on last week, my heart, when she came in, I was done with the session from England. I felt this wave of gratitude coming in my heart that was
Mm,
so gentle. And so it was like Kuan Yin is one of my guides, and it was that level of love and compassion and gentleness, and I just cried.
mm,
'Cause I've never felt that kind of gentleness from anyone that isn't my guide before, and it's a sheep. And I was like, oh my goodness, I get to do this.
yeah.
I get to do this. I get to offer this service that I was guided to do for another being. And like that's the beauty is it delights me, it delights them. And so there's this well of energy that comes through because I'm serving. I'm serving
Mm,
from a place of joy. I'm serving from a place of my highest calling. And when we get to that space of knowing what that is, it's magical.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I, I'm, it's funny. I guess we become by being, and like while I tell you this is what I'm called to do, I lean into it, and then it's just like you can lean in some more, and it's like you lean in some more. I, it's conversations like these that it's just like, yeah, you inspire me to the higher me, because I know the joy that is that, and then I
Mhm.
know where I'm hesitant, and it's just like, dude, just let it go, just lean in. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, the fact that
Mm,
I mean, it's I see the beauty of the method that you're employing because with me, the animals and I already know what I can bring through.
mhm,
I have to work through the humans to get to the animals that know what it's a two-step process because when we bring awareness to the parent or the human with the animal, that transforms and opens them up to realize there's more.
mm,
And then the real transformation for them and the one they live with being the preteen or the animal gets to unfold because if there's resistance to that, then the change is harder to affect.
yeah, it sets a vibe. Man, I'm looking forward to the day and age. Maybe that's what AI is going to usher in, our understanding of emotional vibes.
Mm.
There's this Nikola Tesla quote. He says, "If we give as much energy to studying the unseen as we do to the seen, we'll like advance science by 10,000 years." And I think, yeah, like when all this stuff is processed in the computers and all this computing power, and we figure out what it means to be human more. This is me just rambling now and just thinking, but there's something there with the emotions and yeah, the energy that surrounds people.
Well, I mean, an example between you and me, we felt a heart resonance before I even pressed record. It was like, oh,
Mm.
I found another brother. This is so amazing. And
The vibe
that's
check,
something
yeah.
I've cultivated this because we get to do that. We can find the heart resonance. Horses' heart resonance is insane. Um, because I did a session a couple years ago and I put my hand on the horse and the energy just flowed through. I didn't even know what happened. It was
Mm,
just so fast because the horse was so open and I'd done the heart math breath beforehand. And after about 5 minutes, I was done. I could feel I was complete. She did a full body shake, like one of those like it wasn't a fly, it was a full body shake because she integrated it that fast. I was like, whoa, that was incredible. And the farrier who I don't want to use the word, but owned because that's where his consciousness was. The horse said, "Oh, it was a fly," and the horse and I just looked at each other like, "It's not a fly." But I think we already
yeah.
have that in. I give that example because we have that innate intelligence within us. The problem is that we want to understand it,
Okay.
and we already know it because you
Hmm.
feel it. I feel it.
Hmm.
So trying to translate a knowing into an understanding can be true.
Mm,
I know this because like I've tried to do this with quantum physics. Like, how do I understand how to connect in consciousness? I don't. I do and I don't. Like I already do it because I know that just comes through, but to try to understand it from an intellectual perspective, there's a limitation to it. I mean, I got a PhD in trying to understand what separation is. Um, I only got so far because it was intellectual. I already knew there was no separation. I've known that since I was little.
yeah.
I tried to quantify it. I tried to understand how it was created. And
Mm,
there's only so much I can understand because
hmm.
the innate wisdom within me knows there's no separation. I mean, it's insane to think that there's separation. There's no separation. Like you're in the Bahamas, I'm in Oregon. How is there separation? There is none. There is none. Like your plant behind you is not different from you. It's just in a different shape.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. See, because I'll tell you exactly what I'm thinking, fully what I'm thinking. So two things. First
Okay.
thing I was thinking is um regarding the resonance, the way I made sense of it in my mind is that I'm leading with my full character traits,
Mhm,
which I believe are characteristics of the divine.
mhm,
And while I'm spotting that in you, the divine in me bows to the divine in you. And it's
mhm.
just that's where the connection is. Yeah. And it's when I enter into spaces and while I'm being my full self, and then I feel as and I think the divine presence isn't there, that I feel insecure, and it's just like, whoa, why am I closing up? And then that's when it starts to spiral. That was the
Mhm.
first thought I had.
Mm.
The second thought I had is it holds both ideas that while all of this is one, there's a distinct delineation, like shaping of it, whereas I might observe myself. And in that observation, so I am me speaking to myself as I'm speaking to you, that I might understand myself.
Mhm.
So, like, one way I've heard it explained was as opposed to a smoothie all blended up, it's like fruit salad. We're like, we are completely one, yet
Mhm.
there's clear boundaries, whereas I might understand what you are and you might
Right,
understand what I am, but we are all within
right,
this dish.
right. I mean, we all have unique gifts that we brought in to experience through us.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that we all share space in this um
Both together.
bowl together
But
is like the flavors that come forth through it create something new.
well, and then I also think like this for whoever else is listening to this conversation. But I think maybe the fruit salad analogy is on this plane of consciousness as I understand it. And then there's that next plane of consciousness. Whereas if I woke up from a dream and there were characters in my dream, no, but it's all within that head of that collective consciousness. And maybe that's on that other level. It's just like, well, no, we were a smoothie.
Right, right. I mean, like the one that trips me out is I know I've had I don't I used to think there were past lives, but there are
Mhm.
other lives that are concurrent with me at the same time. That
Mm,
just trips me out because but I know I mean in this existence I'm a multidimensional person. I have very different facets and experiences and like I go from loving to bake sourdough to driving a BMW around corners at 60 miles an hour. So like there's everything in between of that, but they're all different aspects of this one being in this third dimensional construct. Now, to
mhm,
know, as an example, I'm taking a class in meridians in the Chinese five elements right now.
mhm,
I haven't had a class in 4 years but I am giddy. I am so excited. I've already memorized my kidney and my liver, my kidney and my bladder meridian and the central governing or the central one
mhm.
and the governing one, and I know my pericardium one. I'm like, I'm already memorizing that because I'm so excited, not because I'm learning it, because I'm remembering it.
Okay, tell me about that.
So I have known for years, I've been attracted to Chinese traditional medicine for years. For
Mhm.
no reason, I'm a white girl from Connecticut. There's no reason why I should be attracted to this.
A
But
flow of
there's
energy. Yeah, go on.
but there's this innate knowing that's somewhere in my beingness that is calling me to learn it, to remember
Mhm,
it. And I
mm,
don't understand the motivation. Like Oregon, I love Oregon like in ways that I can't process because like I've lived here so many lifetimes. I love the
yes.
state like irrationally because it's so magical to me. And
Mhm,
I can't explain that to anyone because it's just deep within my soul. So when something comes up like that, it just like my awareness is like it's just another aspect of me that is coming online
mhm.
that is ready for me to remember.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unlocking elements that were already there.
Mhm.
The Akashic record, if you believe in it. But I mean, it's all already there. It's just we
Yeah,
have to bring our awareness to it.
right,
We're always in the fullness. We are in the fullness of what I was speaking about, the seemingly separated self. But it's can our awareness be brought to our fullness?
right.
Some people say Yeah, plant-based medicine helps get you there because it removes the veil.
Mhm.
But I mean, yeah, all of it is already there already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're just remembering it. And it's just so fascinating because like we're in this time of consciousness where we get to do this.
Yeah. If you see it as such, I mean, some people see change or the gaining of an understanding as sometimes learning is seen as pain. Um, and like I told you, it's just change. Some
Right.
people see change as pain, uncertainty, and hard work.
Right.
Which
Right.
is no, it's just effort. It's just forces pushing against each other. And while these forces push against each other, what story are you going to tell yourself?
We bear those ills we have rather than flee to those we know not of.
Yeah. Oh man, let's get it. Let's get it.
I mean, I would rather flee to those I know not of because I already know what I know.
Mm,
You know, I wanna learn what I don't know yet or what I'm remembering because I, like you, am innately curious. And yes, I have habits, but there's also room for changing and exploring and expanding and becoming or remembering more. And that is so much fun, even when it's uncomfortable.
especially when it's uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah. I only laugh because there's this line I say, the biggest we all live in the biggest room, and that's the room for improvement. Yeah, man. Wow. I remember I was doing monk chat in Thailand one time,
Mhm.
and I told the monk, he was a young monk too. I said, I'm curious. He said, no, 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 don't be curious. Like, don't, like, you find with not knowing. And like, I love words. And I noticed what he thought curious was attached to it was like anxiety, like I'm anxious to know. And I was just like, no, 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 like, I want to know, and I'm fine with not knowing. Like,
Right.
letting it reveal itself as it comes.
Right. Oh, I
Yeah.
understand that completely because the curiosity for me is the wonder.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be in a state of wonder, um, that's for me allowing what wants to come through as opposed to trying to control an outcome or anything like that, but have that playful. There's a big difference between wonder and obsessive compulsion, which is what the history degree was. Like that's massive obsessive compulsion. I like being back in that state of that wonder curiosity because that allows me to experience.
Mm. To be present with what is, whatever comes up without
Mhm.
having to control it. Yeah. I hope. Yeah. Thank you for this conversation. And because it, yeah, it just brings me back to places I remember.
You're so welcome.
I've been having a lot of convers. Well, it is the work that I do, which is talking about emergence.
Mhm.
The word to parent and to educate means to bring forth. And
Mhm.
oftentimes I tell people, I align myself with people who believe there's beauty in there already.
Mhm.
Because if you believe you've experienced beauty before and you know that you're going to experience it again, it's just a matter of flow. Just let it emerge. Yeah. There's no need in trying to throw or put beauty onto it. Let what is come forth.
Yeah. Mm. Well, since you prompted me, I know we're coming up at the top of the hour, so I'm going to ask you the question, how do
So
people find you?
you close your eyes and you imagine that guy with the afro.
All right, in the
Oh,
3D, when not everybody's in that level of consciousness yet.
I'm out there. I'm out there. I'm in the ether. Oh, marcushiggs.com. I have some workshops that I'm working on that by the time you get this out there, it'll be up. Um, either there or LinkedIn is where I hang out online. I'm not so much into other social media at the moment. Trying to get some traction and stay attracted and to goals I'm trying to do. Not even goals, but yeah, for what I want to create in the world. Just focusing all my attention on certain things. So LinkedIn or marcushiggs.com
Awesome.
or workshops.marcushiggs.com is where I have some other workshops coming.
Awesome. Oh, my brother, thank you, thank you, thank you for this
Yeah,
incredibly engaging, wonderful, amazing conversation, for all the work you do in the world, and for your beingness.
words are well received. Takes one to know one, no? Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.